Good morning.
Good morning. It's September 14th, 2025, and our topic today is finding peace amidst the chaos.
Mm.
Of course, the chaos I'm talking about is all the goings on in our world. And in this teaching, in this science of mind teaching, we believe that it is our job to find inner peace no matter what's going on in the outer world. And it becomes a challenge sometimes. And we have to learn practices that will help us stay centered and calm and at peace with ourselves. So that's what I mean by finding peace.
Yeah, so Judith and I talked about it yesterday for about an hour and a half, which is longer than actually we usually talk. And I realized how
About our topic.
about our topic, right? We actually do prepare for this. And I realized too that we were coming from very different places. And at the same time, we had the same place in mind that we needed to be in. And I'm going to start with the place that I came from, which was probably much more behaviorally oriented, meaning that kind of looking at what's the world. I guess if I wanted to summarize it, I would say what I walked away with yesterday thinking was when you're in the jungle, don't spend your time complaining about the mosquitoes. They come with the jungle. And I think what I was wanting to speak to in the beginning was how often we say it shouldn't be this way, and then our behavior and our actions are related to it shouldn't be this way. And so I think I want to get us off to a footing saying it is the way it is. That is just the fact. We're in a jungle right now. There's a lot of mosquitoes, there's some alligators, crocodiles, and a couple of tigers that I've heard are looming. And we need to say yes to that being so and step beyond it, step above it. And so I don't think we do much by saying this really isn't a jungle. The tigers are all nice and everything is fine. And I think that's where that kind of Pollyannish view is what's even gotten us into trouble sometimes. I don't mean that our teaching is in trouble, but people look at what we teach and say, oh, it's very Pollyannish. It's, you're just being nice and happy. No, but I think we do have to step above it, but we also have to see it.
Right. And what the chaos we're talking about is the political violence that's occurring right now.
Murders.
Yeah, murders and the rhetoric that says, "Oh, it's all coming from one side," and of course it isn't. It's coming from both sides. And you know, I would like to largely just blame the weapons, because people get mad and do mad things. But if we didn't have so many weapons, we wouldn't have so many murders. And yet Bob reminded me that Canada has more weapons than we have, and they don't have all the violence.
Which is why in
So,
Canada the deer are really afraid.
so, so I'm not sure what the solution is, but I am sure the polarization of us against them is not helpful to our mental health and well-being.
No, and I think we really have to be careful, most careful about what I call righteous rage. The anger that we feel justified in having, which, if we're not careful, moves us to kind of rage that allows us permission to use guns and words and violence, both mentally and verbally, that we really, that doesn't help, it doesn't solve a problem. And so I think we have to really tamp down that sense of, well, I'm right, therefore right or wrong, we really have to be with each other in a kinder way than we have been.
I think it's interesting that next week on the 21st, the United Nations General Assembly declared to be an International Day of Peace. September 21st is an International Day of Peace. I don't think we've ever had a greater need because there seems to be a lack of peace all over the globe right now. And so in 1999, they declared this day to be a time devoted to strengthening the ideals of peace. But they did make very clear that achieving peace entails more than just laying down of arms. It requires the building of societies where all people feel they can flourish, creating a world in which people are treated equally. And that is a hard thing to accomplish. That is, we have not accomplished that yet, but we can still offer the ideal and say that this is a goal that we would like to achieve. We would like to have peace in our world.
Well, and if you don't have it in mind, then where is it going to come into, how is it going to come into existence? And so
Exactly.
having it in mind is frustratingly, for me sometimes, the realization that having it in mind sometimes it just seems to hang out there and no place else. But until it's there, you can't do anything. You can't see where it exists that you can support. And so the first thing is, where are you seeing peace? Where are you seeing kindness? Where are you seeing joy and love? And how can you support that rather than say, I'm too busy right now getting ready for a fight, getting ready to be against something.
Yes, that's true. And I think you have to have peace as a spiritual practice,
Yeah, that's
you
a really
know,
important
and
piece.
and practice is a good word because we need to practice it in our lives, not just point at others. I'm thinking, I just popped into my mind thinking about um, where one of our greatest anthropologists, Margaret Mead, went to the islands of the Pacific, and she was amazed. Uh, she found no neuroticism, no mental illness. Everybody got along. Of course, they were very homogeneous, meaning they were very much the same, but they had an amazing society where there were no divorces, there were no big conflicts, but the children the children belonged to everybody, so they didn't worry about who mated with whom. It was just really very lax compared to our Christian morals and practices, but everybody got along beautifully, and there was no. She said it was the only place she had seen that had nobody was neurotic or psychotic. So we know it's possible, but we just can't be as homogeneous as those small islands were. But I did want to share some more information about practices because this is what I found myself doing, which is okay, what can I do? Because, we had a political murder this week with, I think his name is Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I think it was.
And that's not okay. And that was done by someone from the left. And, and yet we've, of course, had many instances from the right. And just another wrong doesn't make a right. And so it's very upsetting. And it's upsetting to have our leaders say it's all coming from one side because it's not. But so, how do we find peace? And I want to share with you something that Ernest Holmes wrote. It's called The Call, and it's in the first edition of the Science of Mind book. He says, "This I saw, or else some inner presence made it known to me. The universe is filled with life. The air, the sky, the sea teem with intelligence, with majesty and might. And deep within me, some subtle inner sight beholds and sees, comprehends and knows the all. It neither fears nor falters, but answers the divine call to be as one beyond the bounds of time and space, to overcome the bondage of the human race, and leap with trust undaunted free into the deeps of that infinite sea, whose waters, calm and ready to receive those who in simple faith believe."
That's beautiful and powerful.
Isn't that
You know,
powerful?
one of the things that strikes me about that is that he says, I saw, which means he was looking. I felt, I learned, I knew somehow, I was open to. Could we be open to a greater way of knowing, a greater way of seeing?
A spiritual way.
Exactly. And I think I know for myself, I get stuck in the moment to moment. How do I fix this? What tool do I need in this dimension rather than in all the dimensions that are available to us? There's another dimension available to us, and we often rely solely on this one. And sadly, some of the tools we need are not in this one.
Exactly. And that's our point. We're a spiritual teaching. This is the Center for Spiritual Living. And I find that many of these solutions are spiritual solutions, but we can't find a physical solution. Sri Aurobindo is an Indian, or was, and I don't think he's still alive, an Indian poet and philosopher and mystic. And this is what he says about these difficult times. He says, cease inwardly from thought and word. Just stop thinking. Be motionless within you. Look upward into the light and outward into the vast cosmic consciousness that is around you. Now, cosmic consciousness is another name for God. God as not a being, but as an energy, a creative energy. Be more and more one with the brightness and the vastness. Then will truth dawn on you from above and flow in you from all around you. Now, that's what I call a technique. A technique, in other words, be still, cease inwardly from thought and word, just go into the silence and try to connect with the spiritual presence that is everywhere.
I'm so impressed with it. I don't know who did it, and some of you will know this, but an individual who wanted a group of people who lived in the mountains who had no water to have water. What he
This
did.
was in Africa.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure where it was, but anyway, what he didn't do was lament the lack of water. What he didn't do was look at the ground for the water. He looked into the air for the water. And he actually then figured out how to attach nets uh, up in the up in the trees and things that they built, which would catch the water that was in the air, the invisible
Wonderful.
water, the invisible moisture that was in the air that could be then brought from the air into the pots and pans that were below the screens that they created for it. But out of what appeared to be the nothing came something. We are often looking at the ground for what we need to be looking at in the air. And unfortunately, we don't see what's in the air because of where we're looking.
Exactly. So what I found yesterday that I was really pleased to find, again, we're looking for how do we become calm in the presence of chaos. So we need techniques. We need, what can I do? And Heart Math is an organization that studies the heart and does research on the heart and how it works. And they believe that it's a very active part. And I believe too that it is an active part of our being. So there are 4 exercises that they recommend for empowering our love. So when we have a conflict, what's the opposite of conflict but love? And I read these and I thought, these are great techniques. So I'm going to share them with you. The first one is, and this may sound strange, breathe love through your heart area. So, of course, this is in your imagination. Your heart doesn't really breathe, but you imagine breathing love through your heart area. On the in breath, imagine breathing in divine love. On the out breath, radiate love and gratitude through all your cells and out to others and to the planet. Now, I did this yesterday and it immediately centered me and calmed me down. So that's the first technique I'd recommend. Breathe in love through your heart area. And on the out breath, radiate love and gratitude through all your cells and out to others. around the planet. So as another practice, envision yourself and more people throughout the world taking steps to be more compassionate, caring, kind, and cooperative with each other. See this increasing the connection with their heart's intuitive guidance and direction. This is love in action. And remember that what we visualize, what we think about and imagine is a something. It's not a no thing. It is an energy. It is something that goes out into the world and has an effect. All of our worrying and our teaching in the science of mind is your worrying creates what you don't want to happen. You're thinking about it, you're imagining it, and you're giving it energy. So we want to imagine what we do want to happen and think about it, and that empowers that action within us. The third practice. Now let's radiate love into the planetary energetic field, seeing people and nations getting along more with each other and creating the best possible outcomes for the wholeness. See, this is the opposite of what we tend to do. We have conflict in Israel and Gaza. We have conflict in Ukraine and Russia, and now all of NATO is about to protect itself. We have conflicts all around the world, in Africa, and the Middle East, and so this is the opposite. Let's radiate love into the planetary energetic field, seeing people and nations getting along. This is a creative process. Thinking it and imagining helps make it so. It's not a no thing. So number 4, not only does it make you feel better, it helps create it in the world. And lastly, let's close by radiating our collective love and compassion to all who are suffering from wars, famine, displacement, and natural disasters. Those are also happening all over the world. And other major stressors. See the radiation of our collective heart energy, helping to lift the planetary energetic field, and especially the hearts of those suffering hardships. So those are the 4 practices. These are things we can do to bring peace.
And until we do that, we haven't cleared our mind of the objections we're having to the way things are, to the upset that we're having about the way things appear to us. And so we are often living in the appearance that we're supporting, as opposed to living in the question of, is there another way to see this? And this is a wonderful 4-step process that, if we were to do it, would open us up to greater answers than any of us have possibly even imagined.
Exactly. And we know that this is true. There have been experiments done largely by the meditation community. If you could help me remember the name of that form of meditation, but that group of people.
Not TM.
What?
Wasn't TM, was it?
Transcendental meditation. Thank you. They largely brought meditation to our country, but from India. But what the practice was, they go to a specific city, and their group of people would meditate on peace for 24 hours, or had different people at different times, but they were meditating on peace. And they found that crime went down in every city that they did this. So that's what I'm saying. This is powerful. This is powerful work. It's not just, in your imagination. It's very powerful work that does help bring peace in the world. So this is something we can do for ourselves and for our country and for our planet.
So what you're saying is there is something we can do that doesn't necessarily involve any outer action.
Right.
And
interaction.
that interaction is an action that may speak louder than any other action.
You can still do outer action if you care to.
Yeah.
But this is very powerful work.
But I think we have to position ourselves in consciousness to be available for that. We have to be willing to say, let me set aside how angry or frustrated or upset I am about this person or this condition or that condition, and ask ourselves, what can I do to support what I want to see more of?
Exactly. Exactly. So, those are our suggestions for techniques for bringing greater inner peace to you. So I hope they're helpful. And I know some people are going to want copies of that, and I'll be happy to
Mhm.
send it out to anybody who would
Well,
like it.
there's just lots and lots of people quietly making a difference in the world, and because they're doing it quietly, it would appear that sometimes nothing's happening. And that's not true. And I was struck, I think I've shared this before, but it amazed me. If it weren't for ants and elephants, there would be very few of the little ponds there are in Africa that support hundreds and hundreds of different species of animals. The ants make them, the termites make the mounds, the elephants destroy the mounds. And in the destruction of the mound, the ground is tamped down and made fertile and indented so that when there's rain, there's water, and when there's water, there's new nutrition. So here we are, little tiny ants, little tiny termites, which are a form of ant, and giant elephants together creating something that no one could have imagined could save. Then we have the hippopotamuses who are in those ponds, and they walk from pond to pond. They leave big footprints into the ground. And so when there's a tsunami or there's
Rain, then the rain
when
comes.
the rain comes, right? Those little pathways become little rivers. So here we have, and I saw it from an aerial view, thousands of little paths, which are rivers, thousands of little ponds, which are places now that lots and lots of creatures live and have their being. And all of this is created quite unconsciously by the activity of two creatures that don't talk to each other.
Then nature is amazing that way. And
Well, I think we
I
can
think
learn
there
from
are
that.
no accidents.
Yeah, and so I don't think the termites said, "Here comes the elephants." That's a good thing. No. And the elephants, were thinking, "Oh my God, I don't care about termites. I just want those mounds because I can do a back scratch." So what created those rivers was the termites wanting to have a home, and the elephants wanting to be able to scratch themselves where they couldn't scratch themselves when they were itchy.
Exactly.
But also what it speaks to is we're a part of a bigger picture. What I also think to be true is every place there's a breakdown, there's an opportunity for a breakthrough. And that very often we can't have a breakthrough until there is a breakdown. How many of you have been in a relationship that didn't work longer than you needed to be in it because it wasn't all that bad? And then when it got bad enough that you said, I don't need to do this, you ask yourself when it was over, why did I stay so long? Because we're willing to tolerate what is not all that bad. It's the old story of how do you boil a frog a little, just keep changing the temperature a little bit at a time. And the frog says, well, it's not that hot. I can take this. And so what we have to know is the breaking down of things is a natural part of the rebuilding.
Mm. That's a good way of looking at things too. That all things unfold for our highest good, whether we
Yeah,
can see it or not.
right.
I do believe that spiritually. So it's time now we would like to share a screen with you for those of you who would like to support this teaching so that it can continue online and other ways that we do. We want to share a screen. Where is my screen share, honey?
Down here. Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, right by the share button.
I got it.
So this is our offering time. And because we're online, I have to show you how you can support us financially. And this is the first page of our website, which is right here, cslpalmbeaches.org. And when you go there online and click ways to donate, it shows you how you can do that through PayPal or other ways. And so we appreciate, we give thanks for your support, and so that we can continue to pay for this Zoom and the other things that we do as a business of the church. And so we like to say this affirmation because we believe this affirmation. We believe in the law of circulation, that as you give, you do receive. So let's say together this affirmation. And we're not hearing you, so you can all say it out loud too. My
My investment
investment
today
today is
is made
made with the
with a
full
full realization
realization that
that
God is the source of my supply and
and
returns it to me enriched and multiplied. And so it is.
And
End the recording right there. Oh, there you go.